So now, ladies and gentlemen, live and in colour, it's Mr. Wayne Lovejuice.
The other day our producer Louis had a chat with an interesting chappie who said that the YouTube algorithms really aren't that happy. If a channel only broadcasts once a week, so we decided we could text ya whenever we've got a piece of news in our new book on the track extra. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second of our new series of On the Track Extra. Just for those of you who missed last week, this is a new show, not very long, that goes out on Wednesday evenings in a crafty attempt to fool the YouTube algorithms that we are more important than they think we are, because we have two shows going out every week instead of one. It's also gives us a chance to visit news items that there wouldn't be room for in the main show of On the Track, and it gives chances for me and Carl and Louis and Graham to mess about a bit. And in this episode, Carl Marshall shows us that it's never too late to stop learning things.
Whilst I was curator of the Butterfly Farm, one of my many jobs was doing tour groups. And always on the tour groups, I would always teach the children that there were no true millipedes. I think the most number of legs any species had at that time was about 700. So I would tell them there's no true millipedes, but there are true centipedes. There were centipedes with more than 100 legs, but there were no true millipedes.
In your face, Marshall. Shows how much you know.
So, Carl, before we find out exactly what you've done to piss off the goddess of the underworld, we're going to be talking about myriapods. But what are myriapods?
Okay, so myriapods are invertebrates. Their name literally means many legs. The main difference between centipedes and millipedes, which are the two main groups, are the amount of legs and their nature of feeding. So you've got centipedes, which are predominantly venomous. Millipedes tend to be herbivores, and millipedes have 2 pairs of legs per body section, and centipedes usually only have 1. So that's the main difference.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
I've been keeping centipedes and millipedes on and off since I was about 7 years old, but I had no idea about that. Back when I was a boy living in Hong Kong, I used to keep the venomous centipede Scolopendra gigas, which is these days sold to the unwary at reptile and insect shows. And in my day I used to climb up the hillsides and catch them. And I used to keep them in a big wooden packing case in which they couldn't escape, and in which that they would eat a lot of the local invertebrates. I used to give them slugs and snails, for example, and they ate them quite cheerfully. But if I'd known, or rather if my mother had known, quite how venomous they were, I think my forays into centipede husbandry would have never lasted more than the first 5 minutes.
They say that it's the most painful bite you can have from any venomous animal that's not going to kill you.
So, are all centipedes carnivorous?
Yes, as far as I'm aware.
And millipedes are mostly herbivorous, but I believe they can
carrion.
Eat rotting carrion and things. And now to go down another small, but I think fairly essential rabbit hole. So Carl, before we go any further, what's the difference between a venomous and a poisonous animal?
It's quite simple. A venomous animal has a delivery system, like fangs, so it bites, and a poisonous animal has to be consumed.
So a centipede may or may not be poisonous, but is certainly venomous.
Yes.
And millipedes which can make you feel very icky if you eat them, are poisonous.
I always say that a venomous animal is poisonous, but a poisonous animal isn't necessarily venomous.
So now it's time to find out what Carl has done to piss off Persephone, the goddess of the underworld. So Carl, I believe that something interesting has been happening in the goldfields region of West Australia.
There's been a brand new discovery of a true millipede, in that it is a millipede that has over 1,000 legs. I think the males have about 800 legs and the females have 1,306 legs, I believe.
That's ridiculous. That is the most peculiar. That must be the most legs of any known creature.
Any known creature.
So, where was it found?
They were drilling 3 holes in the goldfields region of Western Australia when they came across a few samples of these large millipedes, which have well over 1,000 legs. They call them myriapoda Persephone. Myriapoda literally means true millipede, referring to the fact that they have over 1,000 legs. And Persephone, as we mentioned earlier, is the Greek goddess of the underworld and the wife of Hades.
Now, I vaguely remember from reading this, aren't they sexually dimorphic?
Yes, they are, yes. All centipedes and millipedes are.
I didn't know that either.
They have different amount of legs depending on the sex.
So, how many legs has do the males have more legs than the females, or is it the other way around?
The females. I believe the females have more legs, especially with the species we're referring to now anyway, because the males only have about 800 or so legs, but the females have well over 1,000.
By the way, the size of these millipedes is a whopping 3.5 inches, which in old money is 95 millimeters for those of you who insist on being all newfangled and everything. I want to say a big thank you to Carl, who explained this story massively well, and to our special guest this week, the goddess Persephone, who, after an unfortunate bout with Munchausen syndrome, fell in love with and was later abducted by the god Hades. No wonder she's got a resting bitch face and she's in such a bad mood all the time. Chicks, eh? So, that is the end of episode 2. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be seeing you next week, I expect. Or whenever we finally get round to getting episode 3 together. But there's a show on Saturday as well, so you have an embarrassment of riches here, or at least an embarrassment. So until then, be seeing you.